Hi, today we will discuss another component of cost which is called the labor cost. Like material, labor cost is also part of the prime cost. So, when the company buys the raw material, it adds labor. So, what is labor? Labor is the human performance, right? It is a human effort and the skill which is utilized to convert the raw material into finished products, right? And it is an important component of cost, total cost, and the skill utilized in the production of goods, right, and the labor performance is very important in this case. So, what is the definition of labor? Labor refers to the human efforts and skill utilized in the production of goods or in the performance of service or in the execution of jobs. So, we need to control, like any other cost component, we also need to control the labor cost. So, this is the second major element of cost. First major element is of course material, and the second major element of cost is the labor. Now, the control of labor cost and its accounting is very difficult as it deals with an human element, because it requires several negotiations with the labor unions, and labor is the most perishable commodity and as such should be effectively utilized immediately. The difference between material and labor is that material you can keep in store for future consumption, but labor is linked to the time. So, it is linked to the time lapsation. So, as the time goes by, the labor also gets perished. So, it should be effectively utilized uh, immediately, and there is a factor of time point involved here. What are the reasons for controlling the labor cost? So, management is interested in the labor cost due to the following reasons. Number one, to use direct labor cost as a basis for increasing the efficiency of the workers, because it is an important part of the total cost component. So, the company needs to use the direct labor as efficiently as possible. Then, to identify the direct labor cost with products, orders, jobs or processes for ascertaining the cost of every product, order or process. To use direct labor cost as a basis for absorption of overhead if percentage of direct labor cost to overhead is to be used as a method of absorption of overhead. So, these are the reasons for controlling the labor cost. To determine the indirect labor cost to be treated as overhead and to reduce the labor turnover. Hence, the control of labor cost is an important objective of management, and the realization of this objective depends upon the cooperation of every member of the supervisory force from the top executive to foreman. So, here how it is unique is that unlike other cost elements, here the management, the company deals with the human being. So, human being has emotions, they have the psychological traits. So, to get the best out of them, the management needs to deal with them. The only spending money is not enough, but dealing with their emotions is also important. So, we can classify the labor into two parts, like first one is the direct labor and second one is the indirect labor. What is direct labor? It is that part of labor which is directly engaged in the production work. Example, in an automobile industry, the workers employed with say assembly line, the people who are assembling the vehicle, right, directly working on the production. So, this is an example of direct labor. Who is an indirect labor? Indirect labor refers to the labor which cannot be conveniently identified with a particular cost or cost unit. Example, cannot be conveniently identified. Example, accountant salary. So, for an automobile company, the accountant who is working in accounts office, he is accounting for all the models, right, which is produced by the company. So, the salary which is paid to him, we can't directly attribute to that particular model or particular vehicle. So, it is an example of indirect labor. Now, there are the labor cost, it involves the incentive plan, the remuneration paid to the workers. So, labor cost is a significant element of cost, especially in an organization using more manual operations. And it is the cost of human endeavor in the product. So, one noticeable thing is it is the human endeavor in the product and requires coordinated efforts for its control, right. Now, the management can follow several system of wage payment for calculating the wage payable to the workers. The first one is the time rate system, where it is linked to time. Then the piece rate system, right. So, which is linked to piece, and per unit basis, the units produced by the worker. And then there are different experts, they developed different remuneration and incentive schemes, like for example, Taylor differential piece rate system, the Merrick differential piece rate system, Emerson efficiency plan, premium bonus plan, Halsey plan, and the Ruan plan. There are many other plans also, but these plans are more popular and prominent. So, we will discuss all these wage payment systems and incentive payment systems today in today's session. So, first one, which is very popular, that is the time rate or day rate system. So, time rate system is what? It is based on the hours of wage, right, and it is a very common system. So, it is based on the time, right. So, it is the remuneration is calculated on the basis of time. So, it can be fixed. So, it can be fixed on the basis of hourly, daily, weekly, fortnightly or monthly basis, depending upon the nature of his skill. This method can be applied in the following circumstances, where it can be employed, where the quality of work is important, right. Suppose if the worker is highly skilled, right, in such a case, the output of a worker cannot be measured, right, where output of a worker is not in his control, and the formula for calculating time rate system, that is number of hours worked into rate per hour. So, how I can calculate that how much wage needs to be paid? I can simply calculate that how many hours he has worked, and I can multiply it with the hourly rate. It can be done on the daily basis also, on monthly basis also, but it is linked to the time spent. Like for example, if say the hourly rate is 1000 rupees, this is the rate, and number of hours per day is 8 hours. So, total remuneration will be 8 into 1000 is equal to 8000. So, this we can pay. So, this is the time rate system. What are the advantages? It is very simple and easy to understand, and it is workers and trade unions also like this, right, that after spending time on work they can get a remuneration. It involves less clerical expenditure because its computation is relatively easy. So, not much clerical effort is required, and a steady income is assured, right, particularly in case of say monthly salary. Most of the people, they work on in organized sector, they work on monthly salary. So, they know that as the month ends, they will get a certain income, right. And as there is no hurry, tools and materials are handled carefully, wastage is minimized. So, because it is time linked and not based on the number of units produced, so particularly where the nature of work is a little sophisticated, so the workers handle the tools and materials carefully, and the wastage is usually less. So, these are the advantages of time rate system. But there are some disadvantages also. What are the disadvantages? It does not encourage initiative because it is time based. So, there may be a tendency of wasting time during the work that may erupt, but this can be avoided, though, but it may happen. Labor cost may rise, thereby decreasing profit. So, because it is linked to time, and if the time is not utilized properly, so the productivity may fall and the profit may fall. The standards for labor are difficult to set because it is not clearly defined that how much time one particular job should take, right? Because different human being has different capability. So, in a factory where 10,000 workers are working, it is difficult to fix the standards. So, that is one difficulty. Production may decrease, thus upsetting the production schedules, creating production bottlenecks and increasing cost per unit. If all the workers are not equally efficient, then it may create bottlenecks in the production process, thus decreasing the productivity. Labor cost cannot be estimated for the purpose of quotations. It creates more idle time because of the same reason, because it does not encourage initiative, so people may go for more idle time. The system encourages inefficiency. It requires close supervision to ensure that employees are working. So, because it is time linked, so it needs to be the close supervision is required. So, these are the disadvantages of time rate system. The second system which the companies often follow is called the piece rate system. So, here the wages are paid on the basis of number of units produced, not on the basis of time, but on the basis of the output produced. So, it is the output which is important. The time the worker can take any time, any quantum of time for producing one unit. He may do it quickly also, he can be slightly delayed also, but the remuneration will be based on the number of units produced. This is also a very simple and common method, and if the worker is paid on the basis of his work, not taking account into the time involved. So, it is wage is equal to number of units produced into rate per unit. So, this is the what are the advantages? The advantages, he becomes an expert because continuously he is doing the same job. So, he becomes an expert, and as the worker is usually doing the same job repeatedly, it increases the efficiency, and as the efficiency increases, the cost reduces, and the idle time automatically gets controlled because the total remuneration is based upon the number of units, not the time. So, there is a natural tendency for the worker to produce more, and it is related to effort. The reward is related to effort, efficiency is recognized. So, one person who produces more at a given time, his remuneration will be higher compared to the another person who is less. What are the disadvantages? The disadvantages are quality may be sacrificed due to increased production, because the payment is made on the basis of number of units produced. So, there may be a tendency to compromise on the quality for more number of units, and wastages may be high because while producing more number of units at a less time frame, so there may be some wastage, right. It necessitates more supervision and inspection for the same reason, so that units attain the standard quality. In order to maximize output, the workers may use machines and tools recklessly, and if work stops due to machine breakdown, power failure, etc., the workers may feel insecure. See, this number of units production, uh, it doesn't depend solely on the effort of the worker. So, it depends on many other factors, like for example, supply of power, or how efficient the machinery is, right, these factors. So, if on that ground there is some disruption in the production, then it is not the fault of the worker, but the worker may suffer out of this. So, that may create insecurity among the workers. So, these were the disadvantages of piece rate system. Now, these two systems, the time rate and the piece rate or the unit rate, they are pretty straightforward, but the point is that there uh, uh, the in first case the efficiency is not been rewarded, right, and in the second case there it may be, efficiency may be rewarded, but the thing is that because of other reasons which is not particularly linked to the worker's efficiency, he may get less amount of incentive. So, to address these issues, several experts in the field, they developed some other methods of calculating, some other systems for calculating the remuneration and incentive. So, first one which we will discuss is Taylor's differential piece rate system. Okay. Now, what we will discuss? We will discuss a system which is called the Taylor's differential piece rate system. So, F.W. Taylor developed this system. He was also known as the father of scientific management, right? In this system, no minimum wage is guaranteed, right? The standard output is determined on the basis of time and motion studies, and wages are calculated on the basis of two widely different price rates. Those attaining crossing the standard get a higher piece rate, and those not attaining it get a lower rate. So, under this system, he created two strata. One is those who are performing well and those who are not performing well. Now, those who are not performing well, they will get 83% of the wage rate, day wage rate. This is a lower rate, and this rate is applicable to those who don't attain the standard. So, this system, what happens, it penalizes the lower performers, right, but those who are performing well, they are being awarded. Now, you see the higher rate. So, the higher rate is based upon 125% of the day rate and an incentive of 50% of the day rate. So, under this system, the performers are rewarded and those who are not performing, they are being penalized. So, the efficiency of a worker can be determined either by comparing standard time and actual time taken, or by comparing actual output and standard output. So, this system penalizes the slow worker and rewards the efficient one. So, this is one factor which is introduced by Taylor while incentivizing the workers. The principle is based on the fact that slow production increases the cost of production. So, because it is they are taking they are considering the efficiency of the worker. So, the underlying principle is what? If the production is slow because of the labor's performance, then it increases the cost of production. So, a part of this loss should be borne by the worker, right? Okay. Now, there is another system which is called Merrick's differential rate system. This is also multiple rate system. This slightly modified version of the Taylor scheme. This system smoothens the sharp differences in the tailored scheme by determining the 3 gradual rates. So, in Taylor there were 2 rates, in Merrick there are 3 rates. It does not guarantee time rate, but each one is paid according to his efficiency. So, efficiency level piece rate. So, what are those 3 levels? Up to 83% normal rate, 83 to 100%, 110% of normal rate, and 100 and above 110 to 120 of above 100%, it will be 120% of the normal rate. So, this is if you compare with Taylor's, this is slightly this system is slightly more smoother, right. Here they are saying that if you achieve 83%, more than 83% of the efficiency level, then the worker is, he should get remunerated, should incentivized for that, right. And if someone does more than 100%, that is quite good achievement, he should be incentivized more up to 120%. But up to 83%, if someone is working, he should get normal rate, right. So, it does not penalize the slow performers, but incentivizes the performer. So, that is the difference. Another scheme, that is NAT's task and bonus plan. Under NL-NAT scheme, time wages are guaranteed to each worker. So, standards are set, bonus is generally 20% at 100% efficiency. So, it is similar. If a worker takes standard time to perform the task, that is 100% efficiency, he is given wages for standard time and bonus of 20% of wages earned. If the worker completes the task in less than standard time, he is given wages for the standard time and a bonus of 20% of wages for the standard time. A high piece rate may also be offered above the 100% efficiency. Okay. So, this is the NAT scheme which is offered. Another scheme is the premium bonus plan. Under the premium bonus plan, all the gains of efficient workers and all the losses of inefficient workers benefit the employer under the time rate systems. Under the piece rate system, it is the workers who gain or lose. So, how it is? Under the premium bonus system, the gains are shared by the employer and the employees in agreed proportions. Apart from minimum guaranteed wages, the efficient workers get bonus which depends on the time saved. The standard is determined scientifically. The various incentive schemes should be chosen keeping in mind the nature of the work with the consent of the trade unions in order to make it successful. These plans regulate the speed of work so that the pace of work is not slow and at the same time it is not fast. Under the constant sharing plans, the proportion of sharing is constant at all levels of efficiency, but under variable sharing plans, it varies with the time saved. So, this is the premium bonus plan. Another system is Emerson's efficiency system, and under this system, though the minimum daily wages are guaranteed, efficiency is also rewarded. Standard is set based on the time and motion study. So, what is the scheme? Bonus is payable when efficiency reaches 66 to 23% and increases at output increases. Levels of efficiency piece rate is 66 for 2-3% is guaranteed time rate, 90% is time rate plus 10% as bonus, 100% is time rate plus 20% as bonus, and above 100% time rate plus 20% as bonus plus additional bonus of 1% for every increase of 1% beyond 100% efficiency. You can observe here that under all the systems, they were rewarding the performance. So, whenever the performance is high, the incentive is been made. This plan is framed by Halsey. So, what is the Halsey plan? Halsey plan is, under this plan originated by T.A. Halsey, time rate is guaranteed, right? Standard time and work are predetermined. The bonus is 50% of the standard time saved. Total wages is equal to time taken into hourly rate plus half of time saved into hourly rate. So, we can calculate it like that. Okay. So, total wage is equal to time taken into hourly rate plus half of time saved into hourly rate. Halsey-Ware plan, this is another plan. This is an advancement from the Halsey plan. The bonus under this plan is 33 and 1/3% of the standard time saved. So, total wages is time taken into hourly rate plus 33 and 1/3% of time saved into hourly rate. So, using this formula, we can calculate the total wages payable under the Halsey-Ware plan. Ruan plan is another plan. So, this is framed by Ruan. The time rate is guaranteed under this plan, and it is guaranteed, the time rate is guaranteed under this plan, and the percentage of bonus to the wages earned is that which the time saved bears to the standard time. Total wages is equal to time taken into hourly rate plus time saved by standard time into time taken into hourly rate. So, we can calculate the total wages by using the Ruan plan. We can see some illustrations here that how to calculate it. So, time rate system, if the wages rate per hour is 20 and the worker is worked for 7 hours, what is the wage? So, it is very simple, hours worked into rate per hour. So, 7 into 20, it is 140 rupees. So, this is the time rate, wages to be paid at the time rate. In the piece rate, there is another example. Calculate the earning of workers A and B under straight piece rate system and tailored piece rate system from the following. Normal rate per hour is 1 rupee 80 paisa. Standard time per unit 20 seconds. Differential to apply 80% piece rate below standard and 120% at or above standard, and A produces 1300, B produces 1500, right? Standard is time per unit is 20 second. Okay. We will discuss now an example of piece rate system and a straight piece rate system and the tailored piece rate system. So, here is one problem. So, there are two workers A and B, and the normal rate per hour is rupees 1.80 and standard time per unit is rupees is 20 seconds, right? And under the tailored piece rate system, 80% of piece rate is below standard and 120% at or above standard. Now, A is producing 1300 units and B is producing 1500 units. So, under the straight piece rate system, it is we can calculate, right? 1 unit it takes 20 seconds. So, 3 unit takes 60 seconds, and so in 1 hour he can produce 180 units. So, rate per unit is rupees 1.80, it is given in the question, divided by 180 units. So, it is rupees 0.01. So, standard daily production we can calculate if we assume that the total number of hours worked in a day is 8 hours. So, it is 180 units into 8 hours, 1440 units. So, straight piece rate is 1300 into 0.01, that is 13, and worker B is 1500 into 0.01 is rupees 15. So, this is the straight piece rate. Under this, you see the performance is not been rewarded. The worker B is getting a higher amount just because number of units, but his performance is not getting rewarded. Now, for in Taylor's differential piece rate system, the performer is being rewarded and the non-performer is being penalized, right. So, again you see we already calculated the standard production in 1 hour is 180 units. So, in 8 hours it is 1440 units. So, A produced 1300, so he is a below performer, right. So, he will receive 80% of the normal piece rate. So, it is 1300 into 80% into 0.01 rupees. So, he will get how much? He will get 10.4 rupees, whereas B is producing 1500 units, which is more than this, the standard production. So, he will be rewarded, he will get 120% of the normal piece rate. So, 1500 into 1.2 into 0.01. So, B will get a wage of rupees 18. So, under this system you see the performer is getting rewarded disproportionately and the non-performer is being penalized, right, for non-performing. There is another system which is called Merrick system. So, we will see another illustration. Here you see the standard rate output is given as 45 per units. There are 3 workers X, Y and Z. Normal piece rate is 8 per unit and output of X is 35 units, 42 units for Y and 48 units for Z. So, here you see we can see that a number of units produced, right. A normal piece rate if we take, then we can simply take that 35 into 8, 280 rupees, and for Y it is 42 into 8, 336 rupees, and Z it is 48 into 8, that is 384 rupees. But under the Merrick's multiple piece rate system, for up to 83%, right, they can get the normal piece rate. So, they can get 35 into 8, that is 280. For Y they can get 10% more, that is 110%. So, 42 into 8.8, that is 369.6 rupees, and for Z they can take 48 into 9.6, that is 20% more than the normal rate, that is 460.8 rupees, right. So, here also you see the performers are getting rewarded, right. So, that is what. There is another plan which is quite popular, 2 plans. One is Halsey plan, named after its propagator, and there is another one which is Ruan plan, right. So, here is one problem on Halsey and Ruan. In a factory, the standard output of a product is 50 units per day of 8 hours. The normal wage is rupees 80 per day. Calculate the wages on the basis of Halsey plan and the Ruan plan. So, following the details, A produces 40 units per day, B produces 60 units per day and C produces 70 units per day. So, you see the time taken is given and the standard time. So, all of them worked for 8 hours, right, all of them worked for 8 hours. But standard time, because the number of units produced are different, the standard time is different and the rate is of course same for all the 3. So, now how the remuneration will be calculated? Now, under Halsey you see that is time into rate. So, 8 into 10 plus half into 8 minus 8. So, 8 hours he took, standard hours is also 8 into rate. So, the value is rupees 80, right. For B, who is a better performer, right. So, here you see all the things are same, only difference is here, it is 9.6 minus 8, right. And for C, he is further better performance, he showed. So, it is all the formula it is same, but here it is the difference 11.2 minus 8, because it is coming from here you see 11.2, that is the standard time for producing 70 units. So, it is now what is the wages paid to C? It is 96, fine. So, this is under the Halsey plan. In the Ruan plan, it is similar, but there is one difference. You see here it is divided by the standard time. So, it is 8 minus 8 by 8, right, and into 8 by 10 here. Here it is 9.6 minus 8 divided by 9.6 into 8 into 10, right, and for C it is 11.2 minus 8 divided by 11.2. right? So, we can see here it is 102.88, right? The incentive paid to C, 93.6 to B, right? And 93.6 to B and 82. Now, you see under the Rowan plan, C is getting more than what he is getting under the Halsey plan. So, he is better incentivized under the Rowan plan, but at the same time for non-performance, A is not getting penalized. A is getting 80 here also it is 80. So, the lower side is protected, but if the worker performs better, right, then his incentive moves up. Thank you.